Hello again, wrestling fans, and welcome to episode number 5 of This Week in History. This week we are going to look at the rich history of wrestling with the dates January 15th through the 21st. If you've been joining us the last couple of weeks, we said we were going to get towards Royal Rumble time, and it is happening this week. There is a lot of Royal Rumbles and some birthdays to get into, and I want to thank each and every one of you who are joining us, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, or in our audio versions, wherever you get your podcasts from, whether it's Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and everywhere else. We definitely appreciate this, and we encourage you to like and subscribe so you can always get the latest episodes in your Dropbox or notifications. But we do need to get this going, and the best way to do it is bringing in our historian, Jonesy. How are you today, Jonesy, in Niagara Falls?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm not really a historian. I just Google a lot of stuff. Wikipedia, Cage Side Wrestling is another one. So that's where a lot of my content comes from. Eventually, I'll write that down. Maybe we can have that at the end of where I get all my crap. And some of it's just not from my memory, because that ain't good, but I attended a lot of these events, so when I read them, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember all that.
Yeah, myself as well. And whenever I also notice things that different people post throughout the different groups that I'm involved with Facebook, there's old school wrestling, a couple of different other ones, wrestling nerds. The signature spot also does a lot of This Week in History, just little blurbs and a picture. And so I kind of make note of that and hope that you've got that included when we end up doing these shows. So, yeah, it's great that we're able to provide this content and be able to catch people up on history and look back at some of the great and, well, not so great times, especially if we look at WCW's dying days of wrestling.
Yeah, that was sad. Sad times for them.
Yeah, very much so. So if you're ready to dive in, I have my list up here as well, and we can start going.
All right, here we go. This is from January 15th to the 21st. Let's go back to January 15th, and we're going to start at 32 years ago today. WWE presented the first pay-per-view Royal Rumble 89 from the Summit in Houston, Texas. Included on the show featured a pose down between the Ultimate Warrior and Ravishing Rick Rude. Some of the matches were Jim Duggan and the Hart Foundation, Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart, defeated Dino Bravo and the Fabulous Rougeau, Jacques and Raymond, 2-1 in a best-of-3 falls match. Rockin' Robin defeated Judy Martin to retain the WWF Women's Championship. Haku defeated Harley Race, and Axe and Smash of Demolition 1 and 2 with Big John Studd last eliminating $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase to win the Royal Rumble match. I'm not sure who meant that. Must be a edit problem on my behalf.
Well, that Royal Rumble also featured the more of the building tension between Macho Man Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan, where Hogan accidentally got rid of Savage. Savage got back in the ring and into Hogan's face. Elizabeth had to calm things down. They finally gave the handshake and they left. And it was only, maybe 2-3 weeks later that we saw the February Friday night main event, which obviously will be coming up in a couple weeks in This Week in History. But that's when Savage went through the ropes and the landed on Elizabeth and the Mega Powers exploded. But this was definitely one of those marks in the build up towards that. We saw Hogan picking up Elizabeth at SummerSlam and the green-eyed monster coming out in Savage. Well, this was another one, and great booking as far as I'm concerned.
And when it gets your approval, It means it's good. Yes, see that this is what happen. This is what happens when you do a typo on Demolition. It's Accent Smash Drew, Drew 1 and 2, and actually I remember that was really cool when they did that. So we're going to continue here. 15 years ago today, TNA presented Final Resolution from the Impact Zone at Universal Orlando. Sean Waltman defeated Raven in a Ravens Rules match. Larry Zbyszko was the special referee. Bobby Roode defeated Ron Killings. Samoa Joe defeated Christopher Daniels to retain the TNA X Division Championship. And Christian Cage and Sting defeated Jeff Jarrett and Monty Brown. 9 years ago today, Primo and Epico defeated Air Boom, Evan Bourne, and Kofi Kingston to win the WWE Tag Team Championship. It's a happy 34th birthday to twice Shimmer Tag Team Champion and Shimmer Champion Nicole Matthews. Born in Coquitlam, British Columbia, Canada, Nicole made her professional debut in February 2006. A month later, she debuted for the Supergirls Wrestling, a subsidiary of NWA Extreme Canadian Championship Wrestling. In October 2006, she would win the championship in a three-way match involving Natty Hart and Victoria Vice. Her most famous work came with Shimmer Women Athletes. She joined the company in October 2007 when Patricia Perez needed a tag team partner. The duo would form the Canadian Ninjas or the Canadian National International Nation of Jalapeno Awesomeness. In May 2009, the Ninjas defeated Ashley Lane and Neva to win the Shimmer Tag Team Championship. They would hold the championship for nearly 700 days, not losing them until March 2011 when they were defeated by Haruyo Masumoto and Masaki Ohata. Masaka. That one's a hard one. Matthews would win the Supergirls Championship for the third time in 2010, holding it for nearly a year before being defeated by Casey Spinelli. 2 scoops. On April 18th, 2014, Nicole Matthews, with the help of a fireball to Medicine Eagle's face, won a fatal four-way elimination match to become the new Shimmer champion. Go ahead.
She was actually here in London, Ontario during the Canusa Classic
Nice.
in 2019, representing Team Canada. And got to meet her during that time. I was also part of Comic-Con here in London, and
yes. What year that was? That was the first year I believe it moved over across the street.
Yeah, and then also Nathan, one of our friends, was able to drive her from the hotel. Along with a couple other girls on that show, I was able to drive Jordan Grace and Lufisto, but he had
Nice.
Matthews and Nicole in his car. So really good ladies to meet.
Yeah.
And
it's fun when you get to drive celebrities around. My wife, she got to drive. Oh man, I just forgot his name. Oh well, it's gone. It is so gone. Growing Pains. That guy.
Alan Thicke.
Alan Thicke, my God. Yes, she got to drive him, and then he died a few months later. Yikes. It's a happy 34th birthday, too, for Barbara Jean Blank, known these days as Barbie Blank. She's best remembered as WWE diva Kelly. It's a happy 51st birthday to pro wrestler, businessman, commissioner on TV, Shane Brandon McMahon. Born in Gaithersburg, Maryland, Shane is a fourth-generation member of the McMahon wrestling family. Shane began with WWE at age 15 in their company warehouse. Filling out merchandise orders at age 19, Shane made his first television appearance as referee Shane Stevens at the 1989 Survivor Series. Once I get hooked up again to proper internet, I'm going to so watch that. I've seen that event many times, but I never So I want to see that. So we're going to move on now to January 16th. 29 years ago today in Jacksonville, Florida, Arn Anderson and Bobby Eaton defeated Ricky Steamboat and Dustin Rhodes to win the WCW World Tag Team Championship. 21 years ago today, WCW presented Sold Out. The original card for the event was heavily changed, due in part to the concussions that Jeff Jarrett and Bret Hart suffered. Both men were forced to vacate their championships, Hart's WCW title and Jarrett's U.S. States title. Also of note, this would be the final event for Chris Benoit, who along with Perry Saturn, Dean Milenko, and Eddie Guerrero were on their way to greener pastures with the WWF. And some of the matches on that fantastic card. Billy Kidman defeated Dean Milenko, which was, I'm sure, a good match, in a Dungeon Rules match. Oklahoma, here comes the crap, defeated Medusa to win the WCW Cruiserweight Championship. Billy Kidman defeated Saturn in a bunkhouse brawl. You had something?
Oh, no, it was just garbage with Oklahoma. I think
Oklahoma, yeah.
The girls ended up dousing him in barbecue sauce. It was just a really horrible rendition, making fun of JR and his Bell's palsy and former writer Ed Ferreira. Just garbage.
Fatty Billy, actually down in Oklahoma, I might have remembered him. He came up for a wrestling show years ago. I think it was at the fairgrounds. It was really, anyways, I've seen him a couple times. Pen pal, real good friend of mine. He gave this match actually a 0, so no, it was bad. Billy Kidman defeated Saturn in a bunkhouse brawl. Buff Bagwell defeated Diamond Dallas Page in a last man standing match. The Wall defeated Billy Kidman in a steel cage match. Kevin Nash defeated Terry Funk in a hardcore match to become the new WCW commissioner. Chris Benoit defeated Sid Vicious by submission to win the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Arn Anderson was the special referee. A replay the next night, however, showed Sid had one of his legs under the bottom rope, meaning the belt was vacated. 16 years ago today, in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, La Resistance, Rob Conway, and Sullivan Grenier defeated William Regal and Jonathan Coachman, substituting for Eugene, who was out with a dislocated left patella. Man, that hurts. To win the World Tag Team Championship. 16 years ago today, TNA presented Final Resolution. 3 Live Crew, BG James, Conan, and Ron Killings defeated Christopher Daniels, Kazarian, and Michael Shane. Dustin Rhodes defeated Kid Cash. Jeff Hardy defeated Scott Hall. Roddy Piper was the special guest referee in that match. America's Most Wanted Chris Harris and James Storm defeated Team Canada, Bobby Roode, and Eric Young to win the NWA World Tag Team Championship. AJ Styles defeated Chris Sabin and Petey Williams in an Ultimate X match to win the TNA X Division Championship. And the main event was Jeff Jarrett defeating Muddy Brown to retain the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. 12 years ago today, WWE gave the red flag to Robert Howard, best known to wrestling fans as Bob Howard Cower Holly. In addition to the 6 WWF hardcore titles, Holly was a 3-time tag champion with 3 different partners, and an NWA World Tag Team Champion as one half of the new Midnight Express with bodacious Bart Gunn. Holly was also a trainer and a dick on the Tough Enough series. 9 years ago today on Raw, Jack Swagger defeated Zack Ryder to win the WWE United States Championship. 7 years ago today, TNA presented Genesis from the Von Braun Center in Huntsville, Alabama. The event would be the last for Sting and TNA, who had been with the company since 2003. His contract expired a month later and was not renewed. Sting ended losing both his matches to EC3 and Magnus that night and was fired from TNA. Hey, it's a happy birthday, 51st birthday for Richard Bognar, wrestling as a Titan and Big Titan on the Canadian Independent Circuit and Japan's former martial arts wrestling and Wrestle and Romance. Bognar is remembered in WWF as the fake Razor Ramon. Bognar returned to Japan following his fake Razor gig and joined NWO Japan. He suffered a neck injury in a match against Shinya Hashimoto in 1998 and would retire 1 year later.
Yeah, sadly enough, he ended up passing away September 20th, 2019 in Calgary. So he was actually born and died in Calgary, Alberta.
So this guy actually died.
Yes.
Oh, so it would have see, that's my type of.
It would have been his 51st birthday.
It would have been. It would. I'm just going to put would, because when I go back to these, to edit and make questions out of them and whatnot. There we go. Okay. It would be. Okay, so let's see if I have any more errors in here. Today would have been the 79th birthday to the man considered by many the greatest athlete of the 20th century, Muhammad Ali. Of course, he was at the first WrestleMania. And see, I must have an old version here. Because this says it's still to edit. Uh-oh. But that's okay. Okay. January 17th, we got 30 years ago today in Yokohama. Big Van Vader defeated Tatsumi Fujinami to win the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. 27 years ago today in New York City, Rick Steiner and Ludwig Borga fought to a double countout. Borga rumored to be in line for a WWF Championship push. Injured his ankle in the match and would never wrestle for the WWF again. Later during the event, the Quebecers Jacques and Pierre defeated the One-Tooth Kid and Marty Jannetty to win the WWF Tag Team Championship.
Yeah, it's so
years.
Go ahead. It's so hard to believe that's PCO in this picture besides Jacques Rougeau compared to what PCO looks like today. But
yeah,
they're the Quebecer, and just amazing how things have changed and his whole look and all that. I got to see PCO actually live at a Smash event in Toronto.
All right. I'll just continue on here. Everything is edited. I just must have not erased it. All right. So 22 years ago today, WCW presented Sold Out. Chris Jericho defeated Saturn. With the loss, Saturn was forced to wear a dress for 30 days, and he liked it. David and Ric Flair defeated Barry Windham and Kurt Hennig, and Bill Goldberg defeated Scott Hall in a ladder and taser match. Ugh.
Exactly.
21 years ago today on Nitro, Jeff Jarrett was awarded by new commissioner Kevin Nash the WCW United States Championship. Nash won the job from Terry Funk at the previous night's Sold Out. Jarrett would hold the title until the company-wide storyline reboot would strip everyone of their dignities in April. Where did Benoit go when he just won the championship the night before? This could actually be a topic that I don't know if you want to do this, Shawn. You remember this stuff more than I do.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of a weird situation on that one because he ended up winning the title and then all of a sudden dropped it or disappeared because they ended up leaving WCW for WWE, and it was a whole group of them that did so. As you mentioned earlier, the Radicals being Benoit, Milenko, Saturn, and Guerrero. And I guess as well, Shane Douglas and maybe Conan thought that they were going to be part of the whole deal, but bad reputations with those two in former dealings with WWE did not appreciate themselves to being included with that jump. And it was only the four that ended up getting their actual release from WCW and immediately showed up on Raw. But just weird.
It's actually good. It's good to actually hear good stories because Benoit in this situation actually left in support of his compadres, and he even offered before he got fired, but he offered, I will go out there and job to, I forget who it was, a job to whoever, and they said no, just leave the belt here.
Yeah, I
And
think
that's why WCW failed.
Oh, exactly. Like
Because they didn't like Benoit was willing to do that. That's pretty good.
Yep. Well, unfortunately, we know the rest of the history with Chris, but yeah,
But
showed
I don't think we always have to mention that, because yes, he did that horrible thing, but that was future Benoit. That wasn't the Benoit that was quote quote normal at the time or whatever. So for me, that other stuff, you know what?
exactly, and that's why he
It
was
happens. It's
included
awful, but it happened.
that's why he was included in Fantasy Warfare tournament with the U.S. titles. It's a big gray area and finding a balance between do you talk about them or don't you? And well,
Do you think that in the wrestling language, along with our own language, that Benoit is almost a swear word now, or a word that you say, and some people are like, oh.
somewhat in depending on what angle you look at it, and you can say that hey, he did all this stuff, but was he in his right mind?
No, obviously he was not. If he was in his right mind, he would have recorded the whole thing. That's what he would have done.
There we go. So we'll carry on with Test.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, one. 21 years ago today, on Raw's War from New Haven, Connecticut, Test defeated the Big Boss Man to win the WWF Hardcore Championship. 11 years ago today, TNA presented Genesis from the Impact Zone at Universal Orlando. This event was noted for being the first under the Hogan-Bischoff regime, which meant the switch to a boring four-sided ring. I hated that. Terra defeated ODB to Zip in a best-of-3 falls match to win the TNA Knockouts Championship. Matt Morgan and Hernandez defeated the British Invasion, Brutus Magnus and Doug Williams to win the TNA World Tag Team Championship. And AJ Styles defeated Kurt Angle to retain the TNA belt. 5 years ago today, Michael Sharp, best known to wrestling fans as Iron Mike Sharp. No. Thank you. Died in his apartment in his hometown of Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. He was 64. Born October 28, 1951, Sharp was a second-generation wrestler. His father and uncle were both wrestlers. He grew up in California, but eventually moved back to Canada to live with his mother. Trained by Dewey Robinson, Sharp would become successful on the tag team circuit, winning the NWA Canadian Tag Team Championship twice for Gene Kiniski's NWA All-Star Wrestling. After moving to Louisiana, Sharp won the Mid-South Wrestling Louisiana Championship twice and the Mississippi Championship once. Sharp is best known for his time in the World Wrestling Federation, joining the company as Canada's greatest athlete in January of '83. Sharp got a sizable push with Captain Lou as his manager and actually challenged Bob Backlund for the WWF Championship, but would not win it. After that, he became the lovable no jobber of the WWF of the 80s. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a moment of silence for him. No. Almost silence. Anyways, Hamilton returned in Hamilton in 2007. That summer, while on a landscaping job, he suffered a cut that would get infected. No. The cut confined him to a wheelchair and would live in a basement apartment, where he became a recluse for the remainder of his life. He allowed himself to be filmed only once in his final years, in 2015 as part of a tribute to Angela Mosca Sr. On January 17, 2016, Sharp died in his apartment of an undisclosed illness in Hamilton. He was 64.
What a shame.
Yeah, it was a shame. He was one of the best jobbers, because he was a big guy, and he kind of was popular there. Not popular, but he had a good run there for a bit. They actually let him win some big matches and all that, but in the end, he became a jobber.
Yep.
Sometimes the best jobbers could have been great, much greater than they became. 50 years ago today in New York City, Ivan Koloff defeated Bruno Sammartino to win the WWF Championship. This win and Sammartino's WWF Championship run at 2,803 days, by far longer than anyone in the history of the promotion. 23 years ago today, WWF presented the Royal Rumble 98. Here they come. The show is noted for Shawn Michaels taking a backdrop onto the casket early on in the WWF Championship casket match, causing him to suffer a back injury that would force him into retirement for many moons just 2 months later. The Rock defeated Ken Shamrock by DQ to retain the WWF IC belt. The Legion of Doom defeated the New Age Outlaws, Billy Gunn and Road Dogg, by DQ in a WWF Tag Championship match. Steve Austin last eliminated The Rock to win the Royal Rumble match, and Shawn Michaels defeated The Undertaker in a casket match to retain the WWF World Heavyweight Championship. Post-match, Kane torched the casket, but no crispy remains in the burnt-out casket would be future trouble for Kane. Some fun facts here. Steve Austin became the second straight back-to-back Royal Rumble winner. And the third of the 90s, Hogan went back-to-back in 90 and 91, while Shawn, 2 Rumble wins, came in 95 and 96. Mick Foley became the first and only man to enter the Royal Rumble match 3 times under 3 different gimmicks. And The Rock's 51-minute performance in the Rumble match was, at the time, the 3rd longest by a non-winner, and that's behind Rick Martel and Bob Backlund. 21 years ago today, at a Thunder taping in Evansville, Indiana, the Mamalukes, Big Vito and Johnny the Bull defeated Crowbar and David Flair to win the WCW World Tag Team Championship. 18 years ago today, Edward George Farhat, best known to wrestling fans as the Sheik, a.k.a. the original Sheik, died of a heart attack in Williamson, Michigan. He was 76. Farhat is credited as a pioneer of the hardcore wrestling style and is the uncle of ECW legend Sabu. January 19th. 30 years ago today, WWF presented Royal Rumble 91. This is the last WWF pay-per-view to air on Saturday night. The Rockers, Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels defeated the Orient Express, Kato and Tanaka. Sergeant Slaughter defeated the Ultimate Warrior to win the WWF Championship, and actually it was a pretty good match. Ted DiBiase and Virgil defeated Dustin Rhodes and Dusty Rhodes. Hulk Hogan won the Royal Rumble match, last eliminating Earthquake. Bret and Dino started the match.
That Royal Rumble is actually one of my favorites for a full event. Their poster was awesome. Was the whole Rumble looking gang thing, the cartoon drawing.
Yes.
People are going to see it up on the screen right now. It was back to back with those posters, but I love that poster. I almost wanted to do a t-shirt in that same design with some Ontario indie guys. And I think that is one of the future shirt sort of designs I want to do. But, you know, you have an amazing match with the Rockers and the Orient Express. I love that match. I was a huge fan of Dustin Rhodes when he first came in, just because he was somebody new to watch, and I was only about 5 years into my fandom at that point. So it was like, oh, you know, somebody watched the career of, and plus we talk about the Saturday Night's Main Event where he got beat up by Virgil leading up to that match. And of course, then we end up seeing Virgil turning on DiBiase finally and getting his independence. Like, that was just such a great thing. And then you also have Sherry Martel trying to plead with Warrior to give Savage a title shot, and kind of looks a little odd when she's on her knees with Warrior. And but because he said no,
kind of like that.
Yeah, because he said no, that's when Savage ended up coming through with the scepter to the head, allowing Slaughter to win the title. And it was a weird looking title belt because of Warrior having it. It was on like a lilac leather. And of course, it led to Hogan winning his second Royal Rumble and setting up USA versus Iraq.
And an honorable. Sorry, go ahead.
So in my case, I love the 91 edition from the mid card or the undercard to the actual Rumble match.
And let's give some credit to Gorilla Monsoon, who sold the shit out of that. That's one of my favorite moments of his voice. Just the pandemonium. So 24 years ago today, WWF presented yet another Royal Rumble in 1997. The show featured wrestlers from Mexico's AAA promotion. A lot of them were in 3 different dark matches before the show. Hunter Hearst Helmsley defeated Goldust to retain the WWF IC belt. Vader defeated The Undertaker. That's right. Someone actually beat The Undertaker once in a while. El Kinec, Hector Garza, and Pedro Aquayo, that's not bad, defeated Furza Guerrera. Man, I'm going to take some Mexican freaking classes or something, just so I can't make those with my mouth. Heavy Metal and Jerry Estrada. Why can't they all just be called like Heavy Metal and Jerry Estrada? Steve Austin last eliminated Bret Hart to win the Royal Rumble match, and Shawn Michaels defeated Psycho Sid to win the WWF Championship. 23 years ago today, you're going to say something.
Yeah, we need to go back a slight bit before we jump. The 92 Royal Rumble is on the list. And that one's always been basically acclaimed as one of the best Royal Rumbles that people remember. Another one of the posters that was done with the cartoonish coming through the alley type deal. So I'll let you get to that point. But yeah, it was just one of the other back-to-back Royal Rumbles. The undercard, people remember the post talk from our interview with Ric Flair, and of course Gene Okerlund wondering who lit the cigarette and put it out. So yeah, if you want to tell everybody about the 92 Royal Rumble, it's all yours.
Did I skip that there?
Yes.
Oh, I did. Oh, how did I do that? That's cool.
Because I ran the Royal Rumble.
Oh, that's okay. 25 years ago today, WWF presented, the Royal Rumble 92. The winner of this Rumble feature would win the WWF Championship, which set up for every year that it would be for a title shot. The new foundation, Jim Neidhart and Owen Hart, defeated the Orient Express, Kato and Tanaka, and this is a very good match. I'm telling you, the Orient Express, they had some great matches. Roddy Piper defeated the Mountie by submission to win the WWF IC belt, and Ric Flair, of course, last eliminated Sid Justice to win the Royal Rumble match and the WWF Championship. Bulldog and $1 Million Man would start the Rumble. Notes on this one was the Rumbles that followed had the winner be guaranteed a World Championship match at WrestleMania, usually in the main event. Hey, I already said that at the beginning. Ric Flair lasted a full hour, and Hogan is a sore loser for cheating Sid out of the win. I'm telling you, that's one of those. I look back on that, and Hogan, he was bad all along. He's just a spoiled brat.
Well, come on. He's did that with Sid, who was supposed to be favorite as well. And that basically turned Sid heel. But why? Hogan screwed him over. But Hogan would always eye rake, back rake. Like, the guy was a heel, but people loved him and children were encouraged to be like him. I don't get it myself. And then, like I said, the whole thing with Ric Flair at the end, Bobby Heenan. Bobby Heenan was amazing with the commentary in this, because when Ric Flair came out number 3, Bobby Heenan nearly died and was just like killing himself each time Ric Flair got close to being tossed over, and how he played that the whole hour basically that Flair was out there was awesome in itself. Then you had the three of them, including Hennig backstage. You're getting interviewed by Mean Gene, and you got Ric Flair saying, with a tear in my eye, this is the greatest night of my life, and this is the only title that matters. And he had shown up in WWE with the NWA title at the time, so he did his part by putting it over top of the NWA. Not only the fact that he was kicked off at them, but when you got somebody of that caliber who was always known as the NWA champion saying that this is the best title, you kind of have to.
I read for a few days ago, and might be in next week's wrestling history, that the belt wasn't the NWA belt for a while. Like at first, I think it was, but when he started bringing it to arenas and that, it was actually a different belt. I can't remember what belt it was, but then they just blurred it out on TV, so it looked like it was the NWA belt, but it wasn't because of lawsuit and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, they were doing that, and there is a picture online somewhere. I think I mentioned it actually last week, was that it's a
Really?
it's a WWF tag team title that he's wearing, and they just blurred that out to make it continue like he was carrying the big gold.
Mm-hmm. So here we go. I think we're back on 23 years ago today on Raw's War. Former heavyweight boxing champion Mike Tyson makes his WWF debut. A guest at the previous night's Royal Rumble, Vince McMahon was set to announce Tyson's role at WrestleMania 14 when Royal Rumble match winner Stone Cold Steve Austin interrupted proceedings and confronted Tyson. Tyson shoved Austin and all hell broke loose. It made national headlines as the confrontation was among the most talked about sports stories in sports in the days that followed. Mike Tyson didn't need any boxing gloves to draw a pay-per-view audience. WrestleMania 14, 2 months later, was bought by 730,000 homes, more than triple the number of homes of WrestleMania 13, and was a key moment in the resurgence of the WWF.
Yeah, this week on 83 Weeks, Eric Bischoff did a watch along with Conrad Thompson of that episode because Bischoff had never seen it. And even though when you look at the numbers that Conrad brought up, WCW still won the ratings war, but this was a huge swing in that, as you mentioned. And Bischoff pointed out the fact that Tyson being as hot as he was, just coming off the biting of the ear of Holyfield. You got Steve Austin coming out there. Vince McMahon in a different role than what people had normally seen him as, because everybody knew him as the commentator at ringside. And even though he wasn't actually, he was Mr. McMahon by this point, but this was sowing seeds in his feud with Steve Austin, which was huge between McMahon and Austin and getting them both over. But you got to see Vince in that role and being so angry that Steve did what he did. And it just was a perfect tsunami, I guess, to put together everything. And what came about it paying off at WrestleMania was great.
All right. This would be the 18 years ago. We got to start with that. WWE presented the Royal Rumble 2013. This would be the first WWE branded Rumble and had 15 entrants from both Raw and SmackDown. The Dudley Boys defeated Lance Storm and William Regal to win the World Tag Team Championships. Scott Steiner defeated Triple H by DQ in a World Heavyweight Championship match. This was Steiner's first WWE match since leaving the company back in 1993, and it was a stinker. Brock Lesnar last eliminated The Undertaker to win the Royal Rumble match and a WWE Championship bout at WrestleMania. 14 years ago today, former ECW champion, WCW Tag Team champion, and WrestleMania main eventer Scott Bam Bam Bigelow was found dead in his home in Houston, Florida. He was 45. You know, when I have good night dreams, I dream of me and Bam Bam Bigelow on a nice little fishing boat there and just talking about wrestling and catching some whatever fish. All right, so January 20th. Oh, I think I missed someone. No, I didn't. So January 20th, 24 years ago today on Nitro, Macho Man Randy Savage returns to WCW after a 3-month absence and started the show with 20 minutes of Savage with a chair demanding justice in WCW because he got so-called blackballed, yada, yada, yada. Sting comes down, gives Macho Man a nice old big old hug. Sting and turns his... He turned his back on him, showing trust and love. Savage and Sting form bond. See, I'm terrible about reading this part. So basically, Sting went and turned his back and gave the bat to Macho and like, hey, you can hit me or not hit me. And Macho went and didn't hit him, and they had a nice big old hug. And that was the start of a new friendship. Yeah, and you know what? That was when things started getting a little dumber, and then you got different colors, NWO, and blech. So 23 years ago today, wrestling legend Bobo Brazil dies of complications due to some nasty strokes. He was 74. He was born Houston Harris on July 10th, 1924 in Little Rock. He worked in a steel mill in his younger years before giving pro wrestling a shot. He was originally to be known as Boo Boo Brazil, but a typographical error on an advertisement led to Bobo's name being Bobo. Brazil would eventually face many of the top stars of the time, including Killer Kowalski, Dick the Bruiser, Johnny Valentine, Bruno Sammartino, Bill Miller, and The Sheik. Brazil is credited with being one of the most influenced talents in professional wrestling history. In 1970, Brazil was involved in the first radically integrated match in the Atlanta territory. He was a mentor to Soul Man Rocky Johnson. Brazil was a 7-time WWF United States champion and called it a career in 1993. The next year, he would be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. And rumor has it, not rumor, I chose the wrong word. Anyways, I'm going to skip that joke because I completely watched it up. Yes, 23 years ago today at a Raw is War taping, Owen Hart defeated Goldust, who was dressed as Triple H, to win the WWF European Championship. Commissioner Slaughter considered Goldust a suitable substitute for the injured Triple H, and despite his protests, this decision stood. 19 years ago today, WWF presented Royal Rumble 2002. William Regal defeated Edge to win the WWF IC belt. Ric Flair defeated Vince McMahon by submission in a street fight. Chris Jericho defeated The Rock to retain the WWF Undisputed Championship. And Triple H last eliminated Kurt Angle to win the Rumble match and an undisputed WWF Championship match at WrestleMania 18, which me and Sean were at. Yay, yay, yay. Of course, not in the same spot. Fun facts on this one. Stone Cold Steve Austin recorded 7 eliminations in the match to bring his career total to 36, the most in Royal Rumble history at that time. Maven gets destroyed by The Undertaker for eliminating the Dead Man, and Mr. Perfect, who had not wrestled in the WWF since 1993, entered the Rumble. 18 years ago today on Raw from Providence, William Regal and Lance Storm defeated the Dudley Boys, Bubba Ray and Devon, to win the World Tag Team Championship. And rounding out this week, January 21st, 36 years ago in Hartford, Connecticut. Oh, wow. The U.S. Express, Mike Rotundo and Barry Windham defeated the Northern South Connection, Adrian Adonis and Dick Murdoch, to win the WWF Tag Team Championship. 31 years ago today, WWF presented Royal Rumble 1990. This is one of my faves because Tony Schiavone calls it. Ronnie Garvin defeated Greg Valentine by submission in a submission match. Hulk Hogan last eliminated Mr. Perfect to win the Royal Rumble match. Some of the facts in this one, Ted DiBiase set the new mark for longevity for the Rumble in 1990 at 44-27. The Hulk Hogan Ultimate Warrior battle during the Royal Rumble match provided all the setup needed for their eventual match at WrestleMania 6. This would be the last WWF pay-per-view called by Tony Schiavone. So I had this part highlighted because I didn't have a chance to Google it. Shawn Michaels, was he actually only in that match for under a minute? I'm just wondering if you knew that one. Hello? Oh, I can't hear you. Oh, maybe my headset died. Here, give me a second. I got to undo the headset. You talk about
that. I was actually muted. My apologies.
Oh, there we go. Oh, that's okay.
But, yeah, it's actually a legit thing because, I didn't understand it myself. Shawn Michaels, tag team technician, in there very briefly. And then you see that he's a two-time winner later on after he adopts the whole Heartbreak Kid thing. But to know that somebody, the Legend of Shawn, that short, thankfully it wasn't the shortest one like Santino Marella or Bushwhacker Butch, I think it was, or no, Luke with the short time. But interesting times. It was a good Royal Rumble itself. I definitely liked the early Rumbles that were going on at that time.
Hot damn, you're good. I'm like, this is taking a little longer than I thought, and he just kept on rolling. Fantastic. So 29 years ago today, WCW presented Clash of the Champions 28, I believe. Oh, sorry, 18. There you go. The show is noted for WCW debut of Jesse the Body Ventura. The Steiner brothers, Rick Steiner and Scott Steiner, defeated Big Van Vader and Mr. Hughes. Flying Brian and Marcus Alexander Bagwell defeated Terrence Taylor and Tracy Smothers. And Mr. Hughes, actually, I loved him in WCW. He didn't have to do much. He just looked great. When he was a big guy, he looked great. That get up. When he went to WWF, he didn't have to wait, and I don't know, something was missing from him. PN News squishes Diamond Dallas Page. This is the first time I actually seen Diamond Dallas Page. Cactus Jack defeats Van Hammer in a Great Falls Count Anywhere match, and Ricky Steamboat and Sting defeated Rick Rude and Steve Austin. I have watched this event probably more than any other event because this is one of the first events that I got from a friend in public school. I think it was the last year of public school, and he actually had satellite, and he was able to tape some wrestling stuff for me, and it was fantastic. Right. 25 years ago today, WWF presented Royal Rumble 96. Goldust defeated Razor Ramon to win the WWF IC belt. Shawn Michaels last eliminated Diesel to win the Royal Rumble match and a WWF Championship match at WrestleMania 12. Oh, having trouble reading those now. The Undertaker defeated Bret Hart by disqualification in a WWF Championship match.
I actually just watched one the other day.
Sorry?
Decent event. Can't go wrong. Though Jeff Jarrett against Ahmed Johnson, no thank you. Yeah, that thankfully did not last too long. But the Undertaker and Bret Hart. Taker was wearing the mask at the time after getting his face busted from Mabel and Yokozuna, and that was one of the last times he actually wore it. That started off the feud with Diesel and Undertaker. There was that moment when Diesel was pissed off that he got eliminated by Shawn, and they thought that he was going to go back into the ring and destroy Shawn. But he ended up doing the two dudes with attitude high five instead. So that set Shawn on his boyhood dream route to go against Bret in the Iron Man match.
You know, my boyhood dream was to become a Rubik's Cube solver in department stores. That didn't work out. Department stores were gone. A couple fun facts in this one. This is the first Rumble where all the guys actually had entrance music. Usually it was just the first two, but honestly, I think especially when the video came around at the only Rumble I've been at, that was the best part, is all the entrances you get to see. Anyways, so 24 years ago today, WCW presented Clash of the Champions 34. Dean Milenko defeated Ultimo Dragon to win the WCW Cruiserweight Championship. Chris Benoit defeated the Taskmaster in a Donnybrook of a Falls Count Anywhere match. And Lex Luger defeated Scott Hall by DQ. 20 years ago today, WWF presented Royal Rumble 2001. In a pre-show Sunday Night Heat match, Lowdown, D'Lo, and Chaz defeated Kaientai, Taka, and Funaki to qualify for the Rumble. However, the members of Lowdown could not decide which member would go in the match, so the spot went to comedian Drew Carey. I thought this Drew Carey kind of, maybe it wasn't his fault, but I think that was kind of ruined a good spot for an actual wrestler. The Dudley Boys, Bubba Ray and Devon Dudley defeated Edge and Christian to the WWF Tag Team Championship. Chris Jericho defeated Chris Benoit in a ladder match to win the IC belt, and Kurt Angle defeated Triple H to retain the WWF Championship. And in the Rumble match, Steve Austin last eliminated Kane to win the Rumble match and a WWF Championship match at WrestleMania 7. Fun facts, Steve Austin's win made him the first, and to this day, only 3-time Royal Rumble winner. Is that right, Shawn?
Yes, there's only been one 3-time winner, and there's 6 2-time winners.
Not that I don't doubt my sources, but some of the stuff I'm like, what? Really? Wow. Is that true? It can't be. Kane eliminated 11 men in the match, breaking Hulk Hogan's 1989 and Steve Austin's 97 record for eliminations in a single Royal Rumble. The record stood for more than a decade before Roman Reigns eliminated 12 men in a 2014 Royal Rumble match. 13 years ago today, WWE enters the high-definition era when Raw is broadcasted in HD for the very first time. And actually on this, they just announced they're going to 8K or something.
Yeah, I think that's coming up.
Yeah. And the first match in high definition was actually Shawn Michaels defeating Mr. Kennedy.
Kennedy.
Oh. That's awesome. Perfect. 13 years ago today, at an Impact taping at Universal Orlando, Johnny Devine defeated Jay Lethal to win the TNA X Division Championship. 8 years ago today, WWE announces that longtime world champion Bob Backlund would be inducted to the WWE Hall of Fame. And to finalize it all is a happy 38th to Maurice Mizian, Mrs. Wife. And that is all for this week in wrestling history. Again, I'd like to thank Google for helping contribute. And just Wikipedia, and of course the Cage Side Wrestling site I go to for a big chunk of this stuff.
Yeah, a lot of good outlets to do all that with, and at least we're able to combine it and into this hour long adventure down memory lane. You put in your notes happy 38th birthday to Maurice Mizanin, and you put Mrs. Wife with exclamation marks. And that guy, and you hear a lot of people say Billy Kidman as well. Both of those guys married above their status. Like, considering Billy Kidman was with Tori Wilson, and you got Mike the Miz Mizanin hooking up with Maurice, a former Playboy model, Canadian, French-Canadian model turned wrestler. They met while doing the Diva Search, and now have 2 kids and multi-seasons of Ms. and Mrs.
I do believe that Miz actually, though, is better looking than Billy Kidman, especially when you go, what is Miz going to look like when he's older, like in his 60s? He's going to look like a salt and pepper 50-year-old. So,
True. But,
at least that's what I hope he looks like.
Considering them and the women they hooked up with, of course, Billy Kidman is no longer with Tori Wilson, but and also, I consider David Flair hooking up with Stacy Keibler, or even Test hooking up with Stacy Keibler. These guys are people who went to bat and hit a home run, and unfortunately, in a couple of cases, didn't make it. But Miz and Maurice have.
But is there a bigger, more shocking one than when Julia Roberts married that country singer? I can't remember his name right now, but I can't remember his name. But he's not a pleasant-looking man. Good singer, not the most pleasant-looking fellow.
I think I remember what you were talking about. Yeah,
it's not in the wrestling realm, so my brain won't remember that. Yeah,
no. But so thank you once again for doing all this research and us looking back at the rich history of wrestling. Anything you'd like to plug before we get out of here?
Nothing much. We will do a Royal Rumble trivia probably in the next week or two. That if anyone wants to actually take part in that, if not, just watch and enjoy.
Yep. So hopefully people want to be a part of that. Just a reminder that we are on just the other night put out episode number 3 of our Fantasy Warfare Tournaments greatest mid-carder. So far we've done NWA, WCW United States Champion, WWF Intercontinental Champion, and just released yesterday was the WWE United States Champion. So the last 20 years of that title, and our final episode of that block is going to be next week with the WWF Intercontinental Champion. So please join Stephen O'Neill, Chris Jones, and myself as we look back at those championship holders and find out who was the best, and we'll take the final 4 of each, or the winners of each category, put them into a final 4 and come up with hopefully what, at least in our opinion, is the greatest mid-card champion. And you can always catch us on Scumbags Wrestling podcast every Thursday night at 8 o'clock, barring any illness or holidays. And all our shows are available on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and on podcast audio form, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and anywhere else you get to your podcast from. Be sure to reach out to us, scumbagswrestling@gmail.com. Facebook, we're at Scumbags Wrestling. We have Scumbags Wrestling podcast page. You can get us on Twitter and Instagram as well. So once again, thank you.
Sorry, I got to interrupt. I forgot to thank someone else. I forgot to thank Bell. Bell Canada, thank you for unknowingly paying for this episode as far as the internet, because I had a little problem getting my internet here, so I'm tethering on my phone, but they agreed to pick up the bill, so I got to thank them.
Very nice. Yeah. So thank you, Bell. But until next week, thank you, and we are out of here.